So Promise Me is our one and only melodic track on the album. So I really actually like this track. There's a few people, like metalheads and everything, where when it comes to one of these melodic tracks, they just roll their eyes, they can't stand it, they want something incredibly heavy. But overall, the reason why I like this track, it's not my favourite, because obviously I'm going to contradict myself. I do like the heavier stuff, and I do kind of like when there's all the solos and there's a lot more kind of going on. But I can appreciate something like this. That's the thing. So, with Darkest Days, their melodic track came in pretty early on in the album with Holding On, which I never really liked the placement of it. You got like the first track, the intro, which I just ignore. I can't stand the intro. And then you got the first track, My Darkest Days, and you got Limbo, which is so incredibly upbeat, poppy, so much fun. And then you immediately slow things down into a melody. It's like the momentum has kind of like been building, and before it's kind of like hitting a peak or anything, you just completely put on the brakes to then bring it, and to then start trying to bring up the peak again afterwards. So I found it very odd. Lucas has kind of explained the reason for it. Check the interview I did with him, the part 2 one, not the first one, for why it is there. I think it was in the interview, unless it was when we were talking outside the interview, but I think it was in the interview. But he explained why it was kind of placed there and everything, and that's fine. Like, obviously they thought about it, and they just thought that was the best spot to put it. It's his band and everything, so it's not like I can say, well, I disagree, you should put it here because I say so. It's his choice, but I do kind of... It doesn't kind of change the way I feel. Like, he says it's like fair, but I just personally feel it is a bit too, like, early in the album. And another thing with Holding On I kind of found was the way it was mixed. When Sarah got them really high notes, it just was ear-shattering to me. I don't think it was anything wrong with her voice. I don't know if it was the mix. It just seemed that her voice just went so incredibly high. And I listen to my music as on full volume, as max as it goes. So it just kind of hurts when she goes that high. Promise Me is like that, but completely different. It is miles better. So while Holding On, there's a lot of high notes. In Promise Me, Sarah takes on a kind of warmer approach to it, and also a bit more operatic. Think the chorus of Arrival, her voice is similar to that. That's the best song where you can kind of compare it. And also doing new things that are just on this album that you'll come to hear later, like The Keeper or the first track, where she does that kind of operatic kind of style. She does go into there, quite Nightwish, obviously. And while Holding On was a very personal track for Sarah, it was purely for her, personal to her. She did the lyrics, she did the song. She was doing the piano. It was her singing. There was no one else. It was purely her, which is great. Obviously, it gives it a lot more kind of effect and everything. Promise Me, there is more kind of going on. You got some violin elements in there. Then there is the acoustic guitar that's playing, and you also have some kind of keys thrown in there just now and then, just these little kind of things to kind of bridge the little kind of gaps and pauses when Sarah kind of stops singing to then come back again. So I do like the placement of Promise Me being later in the album, because the first listen to this album I did kind of find it quite exhausting, just because there is so much going on that I really kind of appreciate Promise Me. Like, to get another song like the previous ones, I just think the overall album would just be so exhausting and tiring and just doing too much. So I do kind of appreciate this kind of track nearer the end, just to kind of calm it down, to then get our last few tracks. out the way. It's nice to just kind of calm things down, relax, so then you can finish the album without just being exhausted by the end and tired. So I like the placement of the track. I do like the mix of it, as I say, because Sarah sings in a warmer kind of tone. It's not as high as Holding On, which I found overly piercing. And yeah, it's a very beautiful track. I do like how it starts. It starts atmospheric, like the sound of the wind and everything. And then the acoustic comes in. I do kind of like that because it's not like Lucas always pulls out an acoustic guitar constantly. So it's nice just to kind of hear him, you know, play the acoustic for an entirety of song and everything. Just see the different dimensions of him. And because it's just kind of violin and it's so kind of classical and everything, inspired and everything, just the fact that there's violin and then the kind of operatic warmth that Sarah kind of brings to the vocal performance as well, and then the little kind of key bridging that kind of goes on with the key placement. It's probably quite classically inspired, which is why I think Promise Me is probably one of Sarah's favourites. From the way she's been trained and everything, I do kind of think she is kind of classically trained and does kind of have that ear for it. So it's a beautiful track. It stands out on its own compared to the rest of the album because it's completely different. The placement is brilliant because you get so much going on before this track. There's just leads for every intro of the song, lead solos, many variations of verses and then choruses and bridges. There's so much going on, so it's nice to just kind of bring it down. And just the relaxed, classic, mature kind of sound that Promise Me delivers with an incredible vocal performance, a really nice sounding acoustic, and the mature sound of the violin and everything. It's just such a nice kind of song, just to kind of a word for it is like cleanse the palate. So while you've been having all of this like main course and everything, this is like a palate cleanser, and then you kind of bring on the dessert to kind of like finish off the album. I don't know if that was a really terrible analogy for the album, but that's all that came to mind, and I just kind of sit down and just record. I don't write anything out. So I like it being here. I know a lot of people would be more kind of appreciative of the kind of heavier stuff, and so am I to an extent. But I do think the song is vitally needed. It does help just bring things down, just you know, cleanse a bit, so the energy can come back. Because if the entire album's just full of energy, it just becomes exhausting. So you do need that little kind of break, and it gives some variation and variety to the album. And a song like this, I think kind of like rivals Nightwish for certain songs that they do and everything. Just the fact that Sarah kind of sings that way on this track, and then the violins kind of also take a little from Nightwish as well. There's a fair bit in the album that is like kind of like Nightwish inspired, and I think Solarus can keep give them a run for their money if they keep continuing down this line. And then more on that later. So a solid track. It's not one of the favourites. I don't think it'll be many people's favourites, but it's a vital track. It is definitely needed and very appreciated. It is a very beautiful, mature track that is incredibly relaxing and incredibly beautiful. What else can I say? So let's get into the next track. Now into another one of my favourite tracks, Everbound. So as I say, this is another one of my favourite tracks for a multitude of reasons, and a funny thing, this has actually got a clip of the first thing we ever actually heard from the album. Like months and months ago, Solarus showed what was supposed to be a music video with like music on top of it that you thought would be for the video. Turns out that was later actually the title track, A Dance with Tragedy. But yeah, all them months ago, the first little clip we heard is the beginning of this track. More you know. Doesn't really mean anything, but I just wanted to say that. So, a funny thing is, this track actually doesn't have one of them leads that Lucas is just well known for, and I friggin' love him for it, because wow. But yeah, this track doesn't actually have one, but it's still one of my favourites. Now, the intro to this track, it's not just your typical intro again. It starts atmospheric. I always kind of like that, instead of just jumping in. If you don't do a lead, I don't want you to just kind of jump in and just kind of do, we're going to do some kind of like riffing until Sarah gets in, because fuck the rest of the song. No, it's atmospheric. That's great. A nice way to build the song, kind of build the atmosphere of the song. It builds, it brings hype and everything, anticipation. That's what songs should do, that's what music should do. Have anticipation, have this kind of like flowing narrative to it, a flood of emotions, instead of just, this song is going for this feeling. And that's it. You start the song with a feeling, you end it on that same feeling. You don't go through any ranges whatsoever. No, Solarus put you through the emotion. That is what they do, and they do it phenomenally well. So the thing I really like, actually, about the intro to Everbound is the fact that it's the Solarus twinkles again. I really enjoy it when Solarus bring out the little twinklies. It's just the sound effect that they do. I don't know what the hell it actually is. It's a key thing, I think, but it just sounds like twinkles or something. Kind of Christmassy, actually, which is really, really good for this time of year, because it's, if you're watching this really late, then it's nearly Christmas, so yeah, just absolutely incredible. Really brings out the feeling of the season. So, I absolutely love it. Really unique. You don't really get a lot of metal bands like Slipknot bringing out twinkly sounds. It just doesn't work. But it's just really nice. I really, really do like that kind of sound and everything. And then we kind of get our kind of little twinkles and everything, with the band kind of coming in. No lead or anything, just kind of have that going until we get into our first verse. First verse, Sarah just, again, sounds great as always. Lucas, again, not really doing a bland kind of like power chord, just typical chord kind of riff or anything. There's some complexity to it. It sounds actually interesting instead of just boring or just being non-existent, because Sarah's singing, and when there's a female in the verse, you just take the guitars out, which in a lot of female-fronted metal bands, that is what they do, which I despise a lot. But no, Lucas is there, he's being interesting, and it does not come at the sacrifice of Sarah or vice versa. Epic. So, great introduction, strong verse, and then before the chorus kicks in, that is where Lucas comes in with the melody lead. Absolutely phenomenal. It's such a beautiful lead. I absolutely love it. It's full of melody, full of heart. It's got emotion to it. It's not just some fast, flashing, just mindless whittling. It is got emotion to it. It sounds beautiful. It's incredible. This is a vital thing I love about Solarus. One of many which I've constantly gone on about is the fact that they have so much melody, and to them it sounds incredible. A melody really sits with you over just mindless whittling. So I absolutely adore it. The chorus, again, it's incredibly powerful. Just the way Sarah sings, it is absolutely beautiful. The kind of orchestrational kind of stuff kind of comes in again, making it sound even bigger and epic and everything. And then towards the end and everything, Sarah gets a bit more kind of power in her delivery and everything, so it's not just like a one-note thing. She goes through a lot of variation in her singing performance. It's brilliant, amazing, absolutely epic. Then we go kind of like immediately into our verse again, pretty much the same thing. And then does Lucas's lead come back? No, unfortunately it doesn't come back, which is a darn shame, because it's just so friggin' amazing. I want to hear it again. But saying that, they do replace it with something else, which is brilliant. Don't just go immediately into the chorus again. And even though I do love Lucas's performance in that little lead section, don't just keep the song repetitive. Do something brand new. The songwriting has not finished. thing is with a lot of bands, you got your intro and your verse and your chorus, and then outside of that, the song writing has mostly been done. You can basically do a song just on that alone. But no, before the chorus, they have a whole new section, a second verse, pretty much. And that's incredible. More songwriting. Just more to the song instead of the song just being over with. We've got more to listen to. Sarah's vocal delivery completely changes. The melody changes, the mood shifts. Sarah sings a lot warmer. It sounds beautiful, this section. Instead of it being the kind of like technical, slightly technical kind of riff that is in the verse and everything. Originally, this is just a lot more kind of slow, melody-driven, warmer. It just sounds amazing. Then we get our chorus, and then we don't really get anything after the chorus, like another kind of vocal part. Pretty much the minute the chorus is done, we get into the solo, and I think that is kind of incredible because the way Lucas kind of introduces himself, I think, is brilliant. Because the second the chorus is done, Lucas just immediately comes in, and he comes in with this like slide. I think it's like a pick slide, which is different to a traditional slide. Just a brilliant way of coming in. It's just the chorus ends, there's a slight pause, then it's just that pick slide up the string, and then he just goes into a solo. It's one of the greatest, if not actually my favourite solo on the album, just because the introduction alone is phenomenal. Also, it is melody driven, more so than like pretty much all the other solos, at least in my opinion it is. And I adore that. It sounds great because it's so full of melody. The tone is perfect. It lasts for a fair while. There is some little technical nuances in there, but not an abundance. You don't just want it to become mindless again. Focus on that melody, just really make it touch with you and connect, and then have the little technicalities to it just to really show some phenomenal musicianship. But the best musicianship is a guitarist who can write something that emotionally connects. That is one of the hardest things to do. Like, a lot of people think, a really fast guitarist is the most gifted guitarist. If you know how to do speed, there isn't much else to learn. Doing a very slow melodic solo is very difficult because there's nowhere to hide and every note matters and counts and it has to connect. Mindless shreds just go as fast as you can and you've pretty much covered everything. It's well hidden. Slowing it down is a lot harder. So the fact that the solo actually does connect is one of Lucas's best performance in a solo. It may not be the hardest in speed, technicality wise, but it is probably one of the harder ones that he wrote. Maybe he disagrees, but I just personally feel that this takes a lot more time to think about because it's so full of melody. And I adore it for it. I absolutely love solos like this. Beautiful solos, really connect. I really like them. And then we get back into our chorus, and then right at the end we get a lead again, which I think is, I can't remember, I think it's the same as the lead that was before the first chorus. So I really, really like that. Finishing on the melodic lead, so melody is always throughout this track, the way it is introduced to the solo, to the pre-chorus elements, and even the secondary pre-chorus was that more melody driven. So much melody coming in, and no sacrifice of technicality either. Just a phenomenal track. So now we get on to our last track now. So our last track. So this is a bloody epic length track, this one. Coming in at pretty much 9 minutes. It's not 9 minutes, but it's so close it may as well be. So I listen to long songs. I've listened to a song that's over 20 minutes. I've listened to an album that is 2 hours 7 minutes, and I've listened to it all in one. So I can listen to long things and don't get bored. So I do appreciate a good long track. So with this track being around 9 minutes, have Solarus nailed it? Being such a long track, the problem you have is keeping that attention span. You don't want to lose the listener's interest. It has to remain interesting, it has to remain diverse, the energy has to be there, and if not energy, then the emotion and the melody, everything has to be strong. For it to go that long, you don't want it to get kind of repetitive, mundane, and you don't want to lose the interest. So, I do like this track, I do really like it. I don't think, personally, that they fully nailed being that long. I still enjoy every aspect of the song. I do like all the aspects. There's nothing, fundamentally crap at all or anything, or bad. I just think some elements, it's just they don't really have that spark to kind of keep that length kind of going. Even though each section all works, I just think it doesn't work in a song as long as this. And the fun thing is, the song never was actually apparently meant to be this long. It just kind of turned out that way. They never went into it thinking, oh, we're going to make this a bloody long 9-minute song. That was a mistake. It just turned out to be that way. So there is a lot of aspects to the song I really like. Starting off immediately with the intro. Lucas doesn't start us off. It is piano. I hope it's Sarah playing, because I know Sarah can do piano. And I just really like it when band members do a lot more of the kind of musical stuff and everything, because I just can give them more respect for it. So I hope it's Sarah. The good thing about this, which I've done in the review, is where the previous track kind of finished off with the guitar melody of Lucas to the how this song starts. It's both the same. So that guitar melody that Lucas had for the pre-chorus of the previous song, the piano section that starts the song off is the exact same melody. Pretty much exactly the same. So I kind of like that, which is something Lucas kind of touched on, that these last 3 tracks actually kind of go hand in hand. So there is a kind of melody that kind of runs through them, apparently, from what he told me. Something along them lines anyway. And I can definitely personally tell that from the guitar melody in the pre-chorus and at the end of the previous track to the introduction to the song being done on the piano now. So I really do kind of like that, because it kind of makes not each song like its own little thing. It's like kind of world building, so each song kind of comes together, so everything keeps kind of progressing together. So I do kind of like that. And then after the kind of piano and everything, orchestra kind of comes in and everything. Then Lucas comes in with a guitar lead again, which has some nice melody to it. Absolutely phenomenal, really like it. Then we get into our verse. The verse is kind of like mid-tempo. It's not one of these high-energy Solarus verses. It's kind of like this mid-tempo, mature kind of style, which is the thing with the song. It's going for a really more mature thing. It's not poppy. It's not fun, energy, heavy, aggressive. This is a mature song, this is. So a lot of orchestra taking its time, taking it in paces. So that is the thing with this song. So as I say, the verse is kind of mid-tempo. The riff itself is got some technicality to it. It's not simple. Sarah isn't full of energy or everything. She's kind of like in a mid-range kind of area. And the chorus again has all the orchestration and everything going on, just full of orchestration. And that's the thing that is kind of very present in this track, which is kind of like when the band kind of have a pause where Sarah kind of dips out and everything. They have these big kind of open segments of just music and orchestration and everything, which kind of go on for a fair while. And I just think that it goes on for just too damn long, unfortunately. As I said, I do kind of appreciate it. It's just for 9 minutes and everything. and things kind of being mid-tempo. It's like I don't get this big melody kind of section which is full of emotion, and I don't get the high energy. So because it's like that mid-tempo, then you kind of get this pause gap of a lot of orchestration and everything. It's just like I dip a little, unfortunately, but nevertheless still really good. The solo for this one I really like as well. Lucas comes in with some really good energy, so I kind of like that from the kind of mid-tempo-ness of the song and the kind of matureness of the song itself. I do kind of like that Lucas comes in kind of with that energy and everything. I think that kind of really helps pick it up. And when he kind of finishes his solo, he goes back to that melody again. So again, putting emphasis on this kind of like melody that is blending all the songs together, and even the start of the album and everything. So it's like the whole album like full circle and everything. When the melody starts to the melody kind of here to the melody in the previous track. So it's like everything's like connecting as one. So it's kind of cool and everything. So other than that, it's just a very orchestrational kind of song, very mature, very kind of mid-tempo. Going for something really sophisticated, and I kind of like that. It's just 9 minutes. I just don't think it's fully nailed, but overall is still a pretty good effort. I also really do like how the song kind of ends as well, because Lucas again goes back to the bloody melody, but it shifts this time. He like holds on it a bit. So at the start of the album with that kind of melody, it's got a nice kind of pace to it, and that's quite consistent. But just coming at the end of the album, everything kind of like pauses, and then Lucas just comes in, and it's just like clear. The band's not going crazy with the drums and the bass and everything. It's just opens, and then a big space for Lucas just to do this melody but hold on it and have it linger with each note being a bit more sustained. And I really like this, because the image it kind of gives me is the fact that your album kind of starts with this kind of energy, and you go through the journey that is the album, and instead of finishing it with the exact same energy, it's just you go through the journey, this tiresome journey, just all of this that the album just puts into you, and you're just like so drained at the kind of end of it, because you've been on this epic journey of this album. To end it on the same way it begins, but more open with more breath, it's like a new day, opening a chapter, a new chapter. So that's the kind of feeling I get, instead of it just kind of being exactly the same as the start, like, oh, we're just going around a loop again. No, this is the same, but it's more open, like the start of a new day. That's the kind of impression I kind of think it's got kind of going for, is the fact that it's kind of more open. And I kind of really like it for it, just because musically that's what it tells me. And I like it when music says things instead of just kind of being there just for like the bones of a song or something, just to kind of structure, and then vocally just that being the platform for things that happen. So all the music is just like the structural element, and that's it. It's something that was done in another band, Seventh Dimension, which is the band that did the 2-hour, 7-minute album, which is an entire conceptual story with spoken elements and narration, and phenomenal album. But they had a melody that was at the start of the album, and then the melody was there at the end as well. So after these 2 hours and everything, it closes the way it opens and everything, which is just like coming to the end of the story, the dawn of a new day and everything. And Solaris have gone with that same concept. I just really like it. I love hearing the melody kind of come back. So after everything you've been through, this journey, you come back to where it started for you, but it is now different. Just absolutely phenomenal. I do really like it. I don't know how to explain it, which is why I keep kind of pausing, like, I don't know if I'm explaining this properly. It's good, basically. And that is the album. So that is the entire album covered. So it is a pretty phenomenal album. I was incredibly surprised when I got it. I was surprised to actually receive it in the first place, but getting it and listening to it, it was just absolutely jaw-dropping. It's like, I always knew Solaris were talented, and I like always imagined that they would be great and everything, and I support them because I know that they're good, but this was just something else. I had no idea. And it was just phenomenal to listen to it. Like, you always want a band to grow, and some bands don't. They just have their kind of sound, and then they never change for years and years and years and years and years, just never doing it for their entire career. They never change. And then there's some bands which do kind of try something else, like, oh, maybe we'll do a bit of this or a bit of that, and that'll be it. This album is nothing like that. It is literally Solaris have jumped about 5 albums forward and then been like, this is the next step. But there should have been like 5 albums in between Darkest Days and this album of growth. That is how huge a step this album is. And it blows my mind. Every track is like, wow, Solaris. Sarah has achieved so much. She has grown so unbelievably well. Across the board, album cover, the songwriting, Sarah, the production, album art, even the store to buy stuff, and they're building their own website. Everything has just gone forward. It is absolutely crazy and phenomenal, just the amount of growth this band has had. And obviously I talked to them and they've given me the review copy, and the biggest problem I've had is people thinking, oh, well, he's going to be biased because he was provided this album. He's not going to be truthful. And then I listened to the album because it's like, no, I am going to be truthful. But then I listened to it and it's like, oh, crap, this is going to be hard because it is going to come across like I'm biased because I absolutely love this album. But I have been truthful. Like the title track with Vicky, I did kind of say, I don't like Vicky's singing style when she screams. I just don't like screaming. And I didn't really appreciate it. I didn't think it really suited Solaris. It was different and everything. So I kind of appreciate it from that standpoint. It wasn't overused, so I can still listen to that song and enjoy it to an extent. But it just wasn't really my thing. I would have preferred them to go with someone like Britney Slays, who is also in Canada and everything. And I just think she would have been a better fit. For me personally, obviously, I don't think a lot of people share my opinion on any of this. So I gave criticism there. I think Troy should have been featured in more of the solos just to give a lot of variation and diversity in the kind of solos of two like different minds and feelings and everything. So there was that. Sarah, although she has massively grown, I think she is only just touching on just how incredibly far she can go. She could really go far now because she is just showing what she's capable of. So I know she can go a lot further now. So I do have the criticism there. It's just, truthfully, this is a phenomenal album. It truly is. Now, album of the year. I've got a few albums. There is, what have I got? I've got Seventh Dimension, which is a band that take a lot of inspiration from Dream Theater. So clearly they're going to be pretty good. And the album was. I really enjoyed it. Then there's Poverty's No Crime, which again, I thought was a pretty good album. There's Miles Kennedy's solo album, which I thought was actually a really kind of unique album and everything. And then obviously you've got Dream Theater actually doing an album as well as Iron Maiden. And it's Iron Maiden, they're huge, and Dream Theater, it's Dream Theater. But that's the thing, I don't really want to give it to Maiden, just be like, well, Maiden dropped an album because it's Maiden. Well, yeah, I have to say it's album of the year because Maiden. So I don't think it's fair. I like to give the other bands a chance. The band Maiden has enough to go off of, and so does Dream Theater. They have been in it for years. They don't try. Solaris is a band that really put themselves out there. So this kind of means more to them than Maiden. Like if I say, oh, Iron Maiden album of the year, they do not give a damn. Solaris would. And they work really hard for it. Not saying Maiden don't, but it's not that important to them anymore at this stage. This is super important to bands like Solaris and Seventh Amendment, Poverty No Crime, Miles Kennedy solo project. So I give it to these. So Poverty No Crime is progressive and mature and everything, and Seventh Dimension, again, it's progressive, it's got maturity to it. Miles Kennedy is kind of like country. There's a lot of variations on guitars, which is kind of why I really like it, because it's like country, blues, jazz, rock, and there's a massive like jumping between the lot of them. He uses pedal guitar as well as what's that other guitar called? Aviator or something. It's like a metal guitar. I think it's an Aviator. And then he uses like classic guitars and everything. So it's like a person's wet dream, and I adore the guitar. So I really like seeing all these different things. But I would say Solaris probably have it for me. Mostly just because Poverty's No Crime, it's that maturity, and same with Seventh Dimension as for Solaris, it's just fun from start to end. And that's the thing. I like every track on this. The band just jumped so far forward more than all the others. It's fun. I enjoy it all the time. It fits any mood, and it's phenomenal. And it's the biggest leap forward and try hard I've ever seen, really. So this probably is album of the year for me, because it's that damn good. Now, scoring the album, which I haven't done at all, I've saved it for now, I would be giving this like a 9 out of 10. I think Reunion I gave an 8. I think Darkest Days I gave 8.5. So this is a 9, which is amazing. Obviously, it doesn't go even further because, Vicky, I think Sarah, even though she's phenomenal, I know that there is room to improve even more. So I don't just want to go with a 10. And then Troy can do more. So again, not going to go for a 10. So 9. For the band themselves, 10 out of 10. Like literally the band deserves 10 out of 10. But for the album, I give it a 9. And that is pretty incredible. I don't give a 9 often. I barely ever get over an 8.5. It's rare for me to go 9, especially 10. That's incredibly damn rare. But if Solaris keep on this trajectory, then they could get it. I think with this trajectory, we could see Solaris really starting to challenge bands like Nightwish. Obviously, Nightwish are huge and they have the following, which Solaris unfortunately don't. Where I think Sarah can, and then the orchestral kind of stuff that Solaris have, I think they could really challenge Nightwish, because they can do that, but then they also bring the kind of power metal and all these other genres that Solaris kind of do and everything, and all the guitar solos, which Nightwish unfortunately just do not do. So I really think they could give bands like Nightwish a run for their money, as well as a lot of other massive bands out there. This album really does sound like an album that is far bigger than what Solaris actually are when you look at the numbers that they have. It's ridiculous that you get an album like this and you think, wow, this is incredible. And then you see the amount of followers they have on Facebook. It's ridiculous. So, seriously, this band is going to be epic. But unfortunately, it has to be word of mouth, unfortunately, for this band. So even with an album this powerful and incredible, it can be really easily hidden due to just how word of mouth works and just the industry as it is. So to really push them, you have to buy the album. Buy it. Literally, when this video goes, I am going to go buy the album, buy a t-shirt to support the band. I should have done it ages ago, but I haven't because I'm a little lazy. But I'm going to. because the album's incredible. I want it in my hands and I want a shirt because I think this album is a massive standpoint in their career. And I want to wear that. I want to remember this point of time. And I have also been a part of it thanks to the band as well. So, yeah, it is incredible. It's been amazing. And I can't wait to see them in the UK, which may never happen. But I hope one day it will. That is the next dream. See you in the next one.